This video could kill you or the apparent me. So it seems that listening to this message may help to dismantle, may help to dismantle the illusion of the apparent me. This is not the same as physical death. This is when this illusion of being separate from God, from wholeness, drops. So when the child is born, it's just a baby. It's just a little bundle of flesh and blood. A sensory kind of experience happens, but it's not for someone. There is not a someone that's born in a little baby. The baby's just looking and crying and just living. And then at some point around 18 months of age, the baby recognizes its mother, and it recognizes that there is not just a mother, but a mother that's separate. And directly what happens then is there is then an energy that suddenly becomes contracted, and suddenly the baby feels as though it is here and mummy is there. And so what develops from that is the personality and the character, but this contracted energy inside of it arises that I am someone. And then through society, we are taught that we must become someone, that we must get a job and get married and all these different things, and that we are born and that we live and we will die. And out of that comes this feeling of feeling separate from life or separate from God, whereas the baby was completely one with that experience of life, completely one with no sense of separation. It didn't even know that it was one. It was just one. And so this message can kill this apparent me. And listening to this can help to dismantle this illusion of this apparent me. And then what can suddenly happen is that suddenly there is an expansion. But I also talk about the heart, because lots of people have been listening to this message for a long, long time. And perhaps some people have really experienced emptiness, or they're feeling as though they're empty and that there is just nothing and there's nothing to do. But also, and so they feel then that they are waiting for this apparent me to die and for this collapse to happen so that there is just expansiveness. But that's a very rare thing to happen. It just seems to happen quite randomly. It seems to happen also to people who suffered a lot and experienced lots of loss, because what it is ultimately is a loss. But what I also speak about is awakening through the heart, which anybody can do. And that's the kind of energy that Jesus brought to earth. I'm not into church or the Bible, but I do like the words of Jesus, and I do feel a connection with that energy. Because if anything can appear, anything can happen, then why cannot wholeness, the beloved, the all that is, manifest in one man who came to show us through the heart, that through the heart is the kingdom of heaven, that the kingdom of heaven is within and without of you, and that forgiving and letting go of your sins or your mistakes or these things that you feel that are holding you back, and you become more expansive when you're in the heart. Anybody is able to feel that love, that spark of love in their heart. And so that's primarily what I talk about. And I'm never talking to a separate me, because there is no one separate from God. Because no one is separate from God. No one is unworthy to know God and to be in the kingdom of heaven. So it is a lie. It is deceit that there is a separate self, that you are separate from God. God has never left you. Love, which is God, is all things. It's anything that's ever happened. It's anything that ever will be. Love is every glance, every step, every place. Love touches all things. Love is the peace that passes all understanding. Love is calling every single name. Love knows every face. It knows every soul, because it is itself. God is everything. God is all alone, because every eye is God, every glance is God. You cannot be separate from God. You cannot be separate from life, love. The kingdom of heaven is within you and outside of you. You can't be separate from it. It's this, it's life. You know what to do. You know to follow the love that lives inside of you. Every single being has love inside of them. And the human, it has a spark of life inside its heart. And I'm not talking about something like a chakra or something new age. I'm talking about that if you just feel into that place of that feeling before you were a person, before you did anything, there is this spark of love, of light inside of you. And when you feel it, it expands, and that's who you really are. You are also the character. I'm not trying to get you to separate things, because then we're into duality. But there is that spark of love, and anybody can feel that. I don't for one moment think that anyone is incapable of feeling that. We all feel it. And that is like a little seed that when you nurture it by feeling it, and you come out of the mind, you come out of everything that you think you are, and you come into that beautiful, beautiful love that you are. It expands when you water that seed, and it becomes a tree, and the birds will nest in you. And so in this message, in this video, there is no room, there is no space, there is no recognition that anybody is not God, that there is any separate beings, that there is any separate persons, rather. There appears to be separate beings, there appears to be separate characters. But that's just the many different facets of what love can appear as. But there is no recognition here that anything is not God, that anything is not love, that anything is not wholeness. God does not see you as separate. God sees you as being everything. God sees through the eyes of every single being. God is that being. Carla asks, have I ever read? If someone ever says, have I ever read? It's very likely to be no, because I don't read very well. I can read, obviously, but I don't really like reading books, and I never really have. Have you read Book of Miradad? No. By Mikhail Nami. Do you know him? Do you think I'd like it very much? Maybe I would, but I really don't read books. But thank you. Hi, Amita. Hello, dear Ella. So good to see you. And you, Amita. Hi, Nai Karpa. Suffered myself for 5 years. Rough. Sorry to hear that. XX says, why would this video kill me? You can watch it again from the start when we're finished, and then you'll hear the beginning message. But this video might kill you because it contains a message that does not support that there is a separate me. And so it seems that listening to this message can sometimes cause that illusion of being a separate me to collapse. And therefore, you would have died. But the fact is that, and I'm not talking about physical death here, I'm talking about the death of the me, the ego, the separate self. The fact is that it's also seen when that illusion drops away, that the me never existed to begin with. Hi, Jason. Hi, Ella. Is everything that happens in the life story of the character what's meant to happen? Is it the only way things could be? If you're looking at it in a past and present tense, yes. But there is also the apparent possibility of a future. And it seems to be that what we decide now, what we apparently decide now, seems to be what then pans out quite often. Like if you turn a hot tap, you get hot water. If you turn a cold tap, you turn cold water. So if you think positive thoughts and feelings about your future, usually that seems to be what pans out. If you really want to go to Australia for the summer and you really focus on that, it seems to happen, doesn't it? So in that sense, yes, but it is not you that's doing it. It is God or love or wholeness that's doing it. And there appears to be this idea of free will. But this idea of free will causes suffering. because we think that we are responsible for doing everything, when in actual fact, it is the beloved, it is God that's doing everything. And so when the body mind becomes realigned with that, and instead of living in the illusion of being a separate person with free will and choice, then suddenly it becomes very clear of what's the right thing to do, and your heart feels like it's guided in doing what needs to be done, and intuition can open and all sorts of things. Hi Tim, hi Ella. Wonder if it's possible to differentiate suffering that roots in the sense of separation from psychological suffering. What do you think? Yeah, very easy, because the me is not causing any suffering, because the me is not there to cause suffering. The illusion of me can cause suffering, but there isn't actually a me that's causing suffering. But yes, a sense of separation. And then psychological suffering. How would you really know? I mean, I'm not a psychotherapist. And even then, how would they know? It's like, however anything is now is just how it is, but it doesn't have to be like that. It can change. In fact, it changes all the time. Merk Goff says, what do you think about the big non-duality YouTubers? Are they fully realized and honest? I am still trapped in feeling trapped inside my head 90% of the time. Your energy is great, by the way. Thank you. I don't know who exactly you mean by big non-duality YouTubers, and how can I tell if there is liberation there or not? I just can't. I don't really like to talk about other YouTubers or mention names or anything, but I think that the mainstream non-dual message has all sort of filtered down from Tony Parsons. That's a modern non-dual message, and I think Tony Parsons' message is really good. But that sort of lineage that sort of outpoured from that is beautiful, but it seems to be that people that listen to them just become very empty. They just become very filled up in their mind with the concept of emptiness and nothingness, and they miss out the whole other part, which is the same part, because there is not two parts, of that everything is full, and that fullness is love. And also, in my feeling and experience, not my opinion, my feeling and experience is that 2000 years ago, roughly, there was a man called Jesus Christ, and he brought in a different kind of awakening or liberation that was different from Buddha, which is all about freedom in the mind and expansiveness and all those things, expansion of consciousness, to really all about being about letting go, which is forgiveness, and that the kingdom of heaven is something which we find through our hearts, and that the kingdom of heaven is within and without of us, and that anybody can come to that. And so I think that's what's missing in non-duality, is that message of love in the heart, and that everybody has a soul, and that soul is that spark of love that lives in every single person, and that love is an expansive energy. And so if you come out of the mind and you stop believing that you are mind and trapped in your head 99% of the time, etc., like you've just said, then you are not the mind, you are not the head, you are not the thoughts. They're just happening of their own accord. What you are is that love that was there before any thoughts arose, before you even appeared. And that love is like a seed in your heart, and when you water it, it expands. Carlo, if you want, check in the messenger of your Facebook profile, Ella Sophia. Not now, I'm broadcasting. Alexi, hello. Some people speak about self-image falling away, as opposed to a me falling away. I wonder if they're speaking about the same thing. How come we know? We don't know, do we? In truth, a me can't fall away, because me is an illusion, so only the illusion can fall away. And all that's left is the kingdom of heaven, which is this life. Alexi, so this video could kill me, but not really. Okay, gotcha. It won't kill you. It will kill the me, the illusion of me. What you are is not killable, because what you are is eternal life. Merk Goff, thanks, great reply. I am still very attached to the idea of following some guru without having to think for myself. You don't need to do either. You don't need to think for yourself. Thinking already happens, and you don't need to follow a guru. All you need to do is just go into that space of love that's inside your heart, and it will expand. It sounds very illusory for me to say go into a space of love, as though there is a separate space of love, but to the person there is. To the person there is a separate space of love until that love expands and it becomes everything, because it is everything. And I know I'm talking about an experience, but it's the only experience that truly expands and opens you up. Guess I should drop that approach, hey? Depression makes it harder to take action yourself. You also don't need to take action yourself. Life is carrying you. God is loving you. God is carrying you. You don't need to do this yourself. You don't need to fix yourself. You don't need to put yourself back together. Only love can do that. Only God can do that. You can't do it alone. This is a really big illusion in these non-duality circles. You have to somehow dismantle this illusion yourself, and you have to do this yourself, and you have to fix yourself. And then if you stop eating meat, and you stop masturbating, and you stop smoking and vaping and drinking, and you stop hating that nasty person in your family, then you'll get closer to the truth. And it's not true. You don't need to fix yourself. Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all else shall be added unto you. The first thing and the only thing that needs to be done is to just go back home, which is right here in your heart. I don't live in my heart. I'm not trying to say that I live in my heart. My heart broke into everything. It broke into all things. Every shard of light is love here. But by living in the heart, your life will become expansive. If you're looking for an event, for a big shift, it will not happen with the mind, with listening to empty, non-dual words all the time that become concepts in your mind. It will not happen that way. The best thing you can hope for is to become very empty and very identified as nothing and no one. That's the best thing you can hope for with that sort of message. What's being communicated here is that there is a road to the kingdom of heaven, which is enlightenment, which is nirvana. In anybody's heart, the door is there and it's open. You just need to walk through. And you do that by watering the seed of your heart, that spark of love in your heart. Amita. It's said that before communicating with language, direct feelings or energy field was the way of communication, which has been replaced by mind. It is true. Seems so. Hi, Haju. And you said kus als, but I don't know what that means. Sorry. Alexi. Heartbreaking into everything. Sounds like a big event. Does, but at the same time, everything already was God. Everything already was everything. So it's more a remembering than something that happens. It's more of a recognition rather than an event that happens to someone. The only thing that ever seems to happen for someone is that they are looking for this. The me, the person, the one that feels separate from life, from God, from wholeness. It never gets to understand it because it lives in deceit and lies. It lives in illusion. But there is that part of the individual, the apparent individual. I'm not talking about a person, the individual. That when you were a baby, there was just love. There was just that spark of life. And there was no contracted energy of feeling here. And this message only might kill the me, the ego. It's not guaranteed. But what is guaranteed, I absolutely 100% guarantee you, that if you nurture the seed in your heart, it will expand and you will see God. You will know God. You will see the kingdom of heaven. Absolutely. 100%. And that's much more grand, more beautiful than becoming an emptiness, becoming a no one. All of that stuff. It's much more grand, much more beautiful. Murkoff, just stop caring about my avatar. It sounds too easy, so it's a trick, yeah? Just turning attention upon itself. I cannot experience it. Too confused by concepts also, looking in the wrong end. Never mind concepts. Go into the feeling of love, into the feeling of what non-duality is. Not two. That doesn't mean, not two doesn't mean one. Otherwise, we'll just call it oneness. Not two means not two. So all there is life. There is not you and God. There is only God. There is only love. So all there is left to do with all this mind chatter is the mind chatter is happening anyway, is to feel the love that is inside every person. Every person has love. Love is expansive. So what's going to happen if you really start to feel this love, which you avoid all the time? Everyone is avoiding love. Everyone is choosing ego. You know, everyone's going around, I don't want to get married. I don't want a serious relationship. I just want to sleep with who I want. That's an avoidance of love. I don't want to pray to God and talk to the beloved because it's just all bullshit. I just want to do my own thing in life. That's an avoidance of love, and so on and so on and so on and so on. I'm going to take drugs for a big experience in life. That's an avoidance of love because the love is already there. You don't need to take anything. Fabrizio, ciao. Hi, Ella. Often when I'm laying on the bed, I think you mean bed, and everything is black, a powerful existential fear arises. Usually it's like a storm that passes very quickly. Where can I find refuge in these moments? In your heart. But you don't need to leave this feeling of fear. This feeling of fear is just happening. So be with it and love it. I don't mean that you have to love how it is, that you have to love feeling like hell, but to just allow that to be there and pray. When you pray, you are in your heart. Unless you are praying in the mind and telling God what to do, just simply say, I surrender this feeling. I have no control over it. And this feeling comes and is fear, and I give it to you. I don't have to carry this fear. You don't have to carry this fear. God / life is carrying the fear for you. You don't need to find a refuge. Oh, and move away from this thing. Try to get away. You only need to be with God and give this thing to God. Why escape the house? You don't need to escape the house. You need to be in the house and call God into the house. Do not run out of the house when a stranger comes in. Stay in the house and be present in the house. Allow God to come in the house. Allow love to be filled in the house. And this guest who is fear will sit down and relax. Don't seek to find a refuge outside of that which only is. There is only the house. Hello, Klaus. Interesting subject. What is your thoughts around staying with presence? That it's another big trick of the mind, because there is only the presence of God, and therefore you cannot stay with the presence of God. You can try to still the mind and be with some kind of presence, but much quicker and much more easy, much more beautiful way is to simply feel that love, that spark of love which is in your heart, much quicker, and allow this to expand. Trying to be present is just another attempt of the mind to try and control what it thinks is its thoughts. There is only the presence of God. Alexi, so is this heart thing only relevant for someone who still is a me? Yes, because when there is no longer, no, because some people have that contracted energy drops away. The inner environment of the mind has changed. There's no longer a me inside, but their hearts are not open. What happened here is that contraction dropped. The me was seen through as being an illusion, as never having been there to begin with. The inner environment of the mind changed because there was no longer the me inside, or the apparent me that thought it was in the mind. And so there was just life. And that felt very empty and full. But then what happened is my heart opened. And I suddenly felt that there wasn't just emptiness and fullness all at once, but that everything was love, that everything was God. Yes, this kind of expansion is what everybody wants. Everybody wants that love. They want it. They want that love. That's what they're looking for in everything that they're trying to do, in every experience they're trying to achieve. They're actually looking for this love. This love. Imperfection, perfection. Hello. God, love, awareness, consciousness, oneness, beingness, etc. It's all the same, just looked at or worded differently. At the end of the day, it's not a concept, it's a feeling. It's a sensation rather than an emotional feeling. It's a sensation. If anybody feels that I answer your question and you want to ask more about it, you can. And the other way that you can ask questions, and some people write lists, is by having a session with me, which is by donation. I just ask that you give an alignment to your income so that it's fair. And that's usually via Skype. And so that's one way. But if you feel that you want to ask more about your question, even after I've asked it, you can ask, you can continue the conversation. Don't just accept what I've said if it doesn't feel right for you. Merck Goff. So should we welcome every stranger, even if he does harm to the body and mind? I am so confused by it's all right, I guess, newbie. You should certainly have strong boundaries to make sure that you cultivate strong boundaries, which is simply listening to your feelings and how you feel about things, is very healthy for a human to do. So if someone wants to harm you, kick them in the nuts. Fabrizio. Every time an existential fear arises, there is also an added fear of a possible spiritual or expanded experience, because after the glimpse of heaven, there was the fear of extinction before the glimpse. Oh, okay. Why do you need to fear love? Why do you need to fear love? You don't need to fear love. You talk as though you're going to hell. What's calling you is heaven, not hell. Amita, when we are stable, all self-help books are easily accepted, but sometimes a wave of sad emotion takes over, and however right or not ventilating is the only relief. You might cry or get angry. It's not the only relief. There is also another relief, which is to give all of these sad emotions and things to God, because they already belong to God. You do not have these things. God is holding them. It's this illusory, deceiving belief that you have to fix yourself, that you need to read self-help books. They can be useful, but this idea that you have to fix yourself, perhaps it will be that God guides you to read a self-help book, that you will find some sort of spiritual teacher that helps you overcome traumas or whatever. But the fact is it's not you that's doing it. Allow life to carry you. God is the one that is doing everything. God has all of these things. Stop trying to carry them yourself. Feel loved, feel nurtured by God. It's the most nurturing, loving energy there is. Alexi, so you are saying that what I really want is my heart to open and not the me to die. The me never wants to die. The me never ever wants to die. But what you may want is to have your heart open just for yourself. But that's not possible, because you cannot be separate from God. You cannot be open-hearted and full of love and deny God. That's a trick, and it's deceiving, because there only is God. It's only an illusion to be separate and, oh, well, I'm loving, but I don't believe in God, or I don't feel that there is a God. That is not the love that lasts. Fabrizio, I don't know, but the fact is that I'm terrified of that powerful expansion where I'm not aware of myself. I I pray, have to fix. One thought is there, looking at other thoughts saying, I need to fix you. Can't you see how that's reflecting in the world as leftists? We need to heal the planet. And then you get the far right saying, we just need to get rid of people like you that want to heal the planet. And it's just thoughts. Do. And what we all need to do really is just go back to the love, and live by love. Live wholly, whole by being in love with life. Stop trying to do everything yourself. Stop trying to decide what thoughts are bad and what thoughts are good and what you should and shouldn't be like. Go back to God. Go back to love. Go back to that innocence that you are. And everything that is true will flow out of you like a living river. Herman. Hello, Herman. Would it not be much easier to say that everything is bullshit and has no meaning at all? So there's no listener, talker, or thinker. That's it. Also, this talks about non-duality have no meaning at all. Who cares whether things have meaning or not? And who is anyone to say that anything is bullshit or that things have meaning or not? There is only love. That's the only meaning. So what's the point in babbling on and on and on about this is bullshit and that's bullshit and all of that stuff? You know, that's what a lot of non-duality people do. They get into this cult-like behavior of that's bullshit. If you wear an Indian shalwar kameez like May Sophia does, because I'm part Indian, and even if I wasn't, I fucking love dressing up in these clothes. You know, then if you wear these kinds of clothes and you wear amber necklaces and then you're not liberated, and liberation doesn't look like crystals and hippies, and it doesn't look like gypsies and things. It looks like really boring people that would hate crystals. You know, I mean, that's just all ideas. It's just all ideas. So I'm not going to go on about what's bullshit and what isn't bullshit because I don't have a concept or an idea or a model to compare it with. All I can say is that all there is love, the kingdom of heaven, God, wholeness, life. So the only thing that is bullshit is that there is anything other than that. And that includes May Sophia being half gypsy from an Indian European background, and she sometimes wears crystals and she's got a medicine fucking drum on her wall. Klaus, how do I surrender? You don't surrender. In that sense, you don't. But there is something appearing there that has a need to let go in order to get something. But that's not really how it is. The only thing you can do is you can really become very still in your heart and you can pray. One of the final things that I did when I was a seeker is pray. And I prayed, please, please, please set me free. I wanted to be free. I prayed that I wanted to be free more than I want my own life. And the next day I was free. Not as a person, not as a separate person that attained or got something, but there was freedom. When I talk about me, I talk about either this body mind, I don't talk about a person in here, or I talk about the soul, my soul. My soul was free. My soul was bound in an illusion of feeling as though it was somebody separate, living in a body, living in time. That I was separate from God, separate from everything. And now it's so obvious that all there is the kingdom of heaven. And so this video may kill you, may kill this lie that you are separate from God. You are this little person that is separate, and it's not true. There is only the soul that lives constantly with God. May the peace of God be always with you. Thank you. Bye, bye, bye. Ciao, amore.